Whenever you're ready.
All right, George, can you say and spell your name and your title for me?
So it's George Nikolakakos. I'm a representative for House District 22, which is Eastern Great Falls and Malmstrom Air Force Base.
All right. So can you spell your name too?
It's Nikolakakos, and then George, common spelling.
Gotcha. Okay. So we just wrapped up the 69th session. How would you say it went from your point of view?
I think we had a great legislative session. So the big things that I heard when I was knocking doors in my district, I think we addressed. The number one thing we're supposed to do constitutionally is pass a balanced budget, and we did that. Mm-hmm. You know, we came into the session with a $2 billion surplus just about, and we managed on the final day to pass two big property tax reform bills. And that's the number one thing I heard knocking doors. That was a huge accomplishment for us, and I feel like the people in our district, in my district, will notice that starting this year coming up. We also passed a very large income tax cut, the largest income tax cut in Montana history. Also includes an income tax component, which helps working class folks as well. So everyone will feel that income tax relief as well. We passed $100 million for increased starting teacher pay and also career and technical education. That's huge as far as the education front goes. We've really fallen behind on starting teacher pay, and the STARS Act is going to help incentivize school districts and fund school districts to increase that starting teacher pay. We also did a fiscally conservative and responsible thing and put $600 million away in a trust that can help us for a future rainy day, to pay down infrastructure spending, to work on our pension liabilities as well, and just be ready for whatever happens. We could even use the interest off that trust to increase further tax cuts. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we had a fantastic session. It didn't always seem like it would end that way, but I think we put it together at the end there and did a good job for the people.
Totally. I want to talk a little bit more about that. How you just said it, you weren't sure it was going to end that way. What was the energy like in that room going in day after day? Was it always everyone getting together, ready to work together? Were there a lot of butting heads? What was it kind of like in there? You
know, they always talk about politics being like sausage making. And in the beginning of the session, we get together and we all make sausages together. A lot of the freshmen are there and other legislators as well. And it really is like that. It's messy when you watch it being made. So, you know, in the House, on the House side, we actually got along pretty well. It was very collaborative. We worked well on property tax together. I was on the taxation committee on income tax. It was a very exciting committee to be on because it was all the big bills of the session seemed to be coming through there. But at least in the House, generally speaking, things were, you know, you're there for 85 work days and there's always strong personalities and there's always conflict. But in the House, we got along pretty well and there wasn't that much friction. The Senate had a little bit more drama than us in the House, though.
Gotcha. Okay. It seems like the main big buttoned issues of Montana were property taxes, Medicaid expansion, and the state budget. You mentioned two of those already. I just wanted to know, from when you were knocking on doors, did those seem to be the similar issues that Great Falls themselves also were struggling with and wanted addressed? And how was it addressed from your end?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I didn't hear about Medicaid expansion as much. I think because it already existed and it was just continuing the existing program. I know that people who are dialed into politics and were following along, we did pass Medicaid expansion as well. So that got addressed. That got addressed so early in the session, it almost feels like a different session, to be honest. That was very early in the session. So, but those were the big issues: property tax reform, yes, education, you know, teacher pay. Those are the things that I heard knocking doors.
Gotcha. Okay. So, looking forward, obviously the session ended last week, but what does the future look like, especially for you in your position?
Well, now that I'm back, for me, it's going back and listening to folks, communicating what it is that we did during the session, and then also listening, getting further feedback. So before I go and I say this is what we're going to do next session, we got to digest what we did this session, do a lot of listening. I'll be knocking a lot of doors again, you know, talking to folks and seeing what's on their mind. Things change over time, so I'm sure I'll be hearing new things. As people watch this property tax reform roll out, that'll be really interesting to see how they feel about it. So I think what they'll see is this first year in 2025, you'll receive a $400 rebate, which is, as well as a reduction, which should be about 30% for the average primary residents in Great Falls, about 33% reduction in their property tax. Something going forward to keep in mind for folks as well is that at the state level, we don't live off property tax. Our state government is funded by income tax primarily. Local governments are the ones who levy and collect and spend property tax. So local government spending and what they do with property tax is really is a focus, I think, for my constituents going forward as far as the local government goes. However, what we do at the state level is we do find that right balance, and we create the structure for property tax. And I think that's what we're able to do this session is rebalance a property tax system that was out of balance. And going forward, I think local governments, and I'll be working with our local elected officials as well, to try and see what we can do to maintain that relief going forward.
Totally, okay. I guess looking back, is there anything else that you wish could have been addressed in this session that you just ran out of time for, or was overlooked, or anything like that?
Well, it's good to say. There's a lot of small little bills. I can talk about a little piece of legislation here, a little piece of legislation there, for sure. But that happens every session. So next session we'll have to come back, and nothing's coming to mind, which is probably a good thing. But I mean, the fact that we balanced our budget, we passed major property tax and income tax cuts, we increased teacher spending and funded our schools. I think we really hit the major things that we came to do. Especially as a citizen legislature, just regular folks who show up for 90 days every 2 years. So I can nitpick, nothing's ever perfect, no session's ever perfect, and no bill is ever perfect. None of those bills themselves that I've mentioned or those policies are perfect. They can always be improved on. But I think overall, big picture, we hit all the major issues. And every session there's cleanup that needs to be done. We'll be cleaning up the Growth and Opportunity Trust I mentioned, that $600 million. We put a framework for that together. There'll be a lot to do there. There's stuff in housing that we can continue to do as far as deregulation on housing, and working on some of the trust funds that we've set up for housing as well. So yes, there's always going to be something else that we could do. But I think overall, on the big things we came to do, we knocked them all out.
Gotcha. All right, George, anything else you want to make sure you say or mention?
That's all. I look forward to getting back out, knocking doors, and listening to my constituents and learning.
Fantastic. All right, that was easy. I appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.